If you were stranded on an island and dying of thirst and needed food, would you trade your family, friends, and livelihood for food or water? The cravings that an alcoholic feels can be as strong as the body's cravings for food and water. In both men and women, alcoholism is 50 to 60% genetically determined and 40 to 50% environmentally determined. I personally have many alcoholics in my family, so I chose not to drink at a very young age to hopefully avoid having to go down that path. I have seen firsthand the whole genetics and environment can play on an alcoholic. The National Institute for Health has its own division specifically for this area, and it funds 90% of the research done in the US. Alcoholism has the potential to affect all of us in some way, whether it be a loved one, healthcare premiums, or our money being spent on research. I believe everyone has an interest in being better informed about alcoholism since it will likely touch your life in some way at some point. Alcoholism is defined as a disease by many government and healthcare facilities. If diagnosed with the disease, alcoholism can be like a life sentence in prison for many people. The National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism has a definition of alcohol use disorders are medical conditions that doctors can diagnose when patients' drinking causes disease or harm. There are many symptoms of alcoholism, just as with any disease. Cravings, which are strong need for alcohol, excuse me, or an urge to drink. Loss of control, where you can't stop drinking once you've started. Physical dependence, where you have withdrawal symptoms, sweating, nausea, vomiting. Tolerance, where you need to drink more in order to get the same effect. Alcohol can also cause distress or harm of the alcoholic. They have sometimes problems fulfilling their responsibilities or holding down a job. They can put themselves in dangerous situations, such as driving under the influence. They can have severe arguments with their family, end up in prison over driving while under the influence or things like that. Alcoholism is defined as a disease because there's a genetic disposition towards the dependency, according to Christopher Justice, nurse practitioner. There are multiple genes that play a role in developing, that a person can have in developing alcoholism. Some people of Asian descent carry a gene that causes their body to have flushing, nausea, and sweating when they drink. So they tend to avoid alcohol, so their alcohol rate is not high. In a similar situation, the Native Americans have a gene where they can metabolize alcohol very well, or their body tends to use it very nicely, and so they can hold a lot more alcohol, and therefore they have a higher rate of alcoholism in the Native American culture. These are only a few of the many reasons that people believe alcoholism is indeed a disease. There are also numerous articles, institutions, and people who debunk the idea that it's a disease, and they instead believe that it's a personal choice. Alcoholism has angles and rough edges that make it hard to be seen as a disease, but it's a lot easier to see it as a choice. The National Institute for Health has a publication that states the disease concept of alcoholism isn't needed to justify medical intervention or a caring approach to those dependent on alcohol. It's more useful to view the problem drinking as a result of the interaction between the individual's personality and the manner in which they grew up learning to drink. The idea that alcoholism is a disease has always been political and moral debate. The idea was first promoted in the U.S. in the 1800s by Dr. Benjamin Rush. He believed that those who drank too much alcohol were diseased, and he used the idea to promote his prohibitionist political platform. Then it came about again in the 1930s by the founders of Alcoholics Anonymous, who got their bases and theories from religious ideas as well as personal experience. According to the book Heavy Drinking, The Myth of Alcoholism as a Disease, the disease concept has stripped the alcoholic of personal responsibility. The alcoholic becomes an unwilling victim and embraces his or her role. According to the Baldwin Research Institute, the only benefit of labeling alcoholism as a disease is the money made by professionals and government agencies that provide treatment for the alcoholic. There are many solid references and points to show alcoholism is not a disease, but instead a personal choice. 50 to 60% is genetically determined, and that leaves 40 to 50% as environmentally determined. Whether you believe alcoholism should be considered a medical condition or a human flaw, I hope I've given you the next topic to discuss with your family and friends. The discussion has many sides to it, and I hope I've armed you with information to add to future debate. Whatever your view on alcoholism, I think this quote puts it into perspective on both sides. I'm just a human being with features like you. There might be differences inside us and how people look at us, but one thing is sure, we all get hurt.